Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Friend Shad Pearson, and welcome again to my channel. It is Monday. Happy Monday. It's 11/11 of 2024, 6:45 in the p.m. Let's say it together. Praise our God from whom all blessings flow. And yes, it is Monday. People, I had to go for a ride today. I had to go for a drive because I needed to clear my head. I felt the Lord wanted to tell me something, and I said, "Okay, I'll go for a ride and I'll digest whatever it is that the Spirit of God wanted to send my way." You guys know that over the last month, ever since the comedian Tony, he cracked a joke at the Madison Square Garden, and he talked about Puerto Rico being an island of trash. Well, people, you know I've done a few videos in relation to July 13th because July 13th kept showing after and in relation to that day. There are a few numbers that have been coming out in a strange way, but God knows what the powers are doing. I said, God knows what the powers are doing. And God is speaking. And every now and then I just get this moment where he just like, hey, I want to talk to you. Today is one of those days. I don't like to say that a lot. That is, I don't like to say that the Lord spoke and showed me something, because it can get ridiculous in that people can perceive that you're just talking. And I get that, because there are a lot of false teachers out here, a lot of false prophets. A lot of people that think they hear God's voice, but it's just them. When you develop a relationship with God, you just know. You don't really have to explain, you just do. And so in today's video, I'm going to show you at the end what God is trying to say to us. You see, because the powers they speak, I teach the 5 C's, hallelujah, of clues, codes, colors, the confirmation of time, which is also the dates and the time, right? And the conclusion. God has blessed me with that gift. I also teach the 5 D's of delay, deny, debate, derailed, and destroyed. America is going through that process. And it is a battle. I've said in a lot of videos lately, it's a tug of war we've got to endure. President Trump said something back in the day, of which I did a few videos on it. It was kind of controversial. I didn't even go into them because, again, my head has been messed up ever since I did a few videos this afternoon. So this particular video is talking about what Trump said. He says, he tells the Christian group, you won't have to vote anymore if he wins the second term. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember that. Trump said, you won't have to vote anymore if I win this second term. Well, people, I'm going to play that for you. And I do believe I understand exactly what the powers are speaking. You see, because it's bigger than Trump. I said it's bigger than Trump. And I've also said in a lot of videos back in the day, and I'm going to say it now, it might make a few people mad, Trump is a duelist. He's a duelist. That's what he is. I'll have to take a script from Kamala Harris. I know Trump's type. And I think many of you all know me by now that I know who Trump is. And I'm doing everything I can to clarify this because, again, it's a Moses moment of trying to push him so we can sustain ourselves, because at some point, he won't listen to us. But he said something back in the day. He said, you won't have to vote no more. Just go ahead. Now I'm gonna let you listen to this, Then I'm going to respond. Okay? Just check it out.
Could this be America's last election if Donald Trump wins? Listen to what the former president told a Christian group at the Turning Point USA Believers Summit in West Palm Beach. The former president telling the crowd that if they re-elect him to the White House, they won't have to worry about voting ever again.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
He said it 3.
We'll have it fixed so good that you won't have to worry about it anymore. Isn't it something that the place is called the turning point? Think about the word, the turning point. People, the powers, they speak without they speak without speaking. They tell on themselves. And in time, God reveals. And that's why I'm saying to you, I had to go for a ride, because I was like, okay, you're trying to tell me something. Let me get myself ready for that. And it came to me a little while ago, and I'm going to share this with you. You have to ask yourself, why would Donald Trump say something like that? It's all over the media. You can Google it. It baffled a lot of people. And then he even explained it, but I still couldn't wrap my mind as to why he said it. I get his definition, but he said it. And this last election, in the video I brought to you last week about Barron Trump and all that, people is pointing towards something. The powers are speaking. Now you have to ask yourself, why would this be the last election? Silence, right? Look at the signs that are around us. Think about some things that happened in the last 3.5 years under the Biden administration. And think about what Trump was dealing with when he was president prior to that. And that's a subject I'm not allowed to speak on here, but you know what happened back in the day during the period where certain businesses were essential and you had to stay 6 feet away. That moment. Read between the lines. Think about that. Think that it could happen. And then listen to this again.
Ever again.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian.
It will be fixed. What will be fixed? People, very few things in life happen overnight. For 4+ years, I've been on this YouTube and I've been connecting dots. And I show you how I take history, bring it to today, connect it to current events, and I give you a presentation. I give you a present. How can he say it's fixed? When it's fixed, that means it's final. Now it's fixed. You don't have to vote anymore. Let me incision another word for fixed. It's maxed out. It's reached its point. That's why he's at this place called, the turning point, right? The turning point. Let's go back and listen to this guy. I want to get the right words. Where was Trump at?
Could this be America's last election if Donald Trump wins? Listen to what the former president told a Christian group at the Turning Point USA.
The turning point. Because it's maxed out. Everything that the powers have set up historically, they've maxed it. And now we're going into something new. This is what God hit me with as I was driving. And I had such a peace about it. It didn't really overwhelm me, but it just sat there in my brain like, wow. Okay. And he's like, Pearson, you've been telling them for months now, America wasn't meant for you. America was built by secret societies, by Masonic. And back in the day, I do believe a clue in that 3 out of our first 5 presidents died on July 4th. July 4th is a significant number. They speak through July 4th. It is not a coincidence when I've done the research, and maybe one day I'll do a video on the 3 presidents that died on July 4th. The connection is this. They were in the way of the fruition, of the progress of a one world system that people wanted in place. Do you understand? And guess what? The same thing is occurring and reoccurring all throughout America. See, America was built for the powers to create a one world banking system, a one world religion, a one world political system. But they had to hatch it in America. They had to refine it here in America and keep it all secret and then push that thing overseas like they've done. The World Bank, allegedly the World Economic Forum. You get it? All these agencies, United Nations, all those, League of Nations back in the 1930s. They needed an internet system, so they had to get together with what? More and more commit their soul and their life to what the fallen angels who have given them this insight, this technology, all this advancement. And now we're here. You don't have to vote anymore because everything's maxed out. They're going to bring back, in my humble opinion, that moment when Trump was president. That's an option. They're going to wreck the economy, and they're going to bring WW3. They want to make it so bad that Trump, that it reminds me of what Prince said in one of his albums. I want to party like it's 1999. You know why? Because it's over with. It's maxed out. And the morals are maxed out. Nothing else has value. This is what I believe Trump meant. Am I putting words in his mouth? Take it any way you want to. When you see the numbers, you'll understand why I say what I say. Now let's go forward. Look how many people have died in the Middle East. Over 43,000 since October 7th of 2023. Some say close to 50,000. Blood being spilt for the Phoenicians, for the Antichrist. That is in part what this is about. And they will use this situation to do what? To bring on WW3. And once we have world government, voting is obsolete. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are saying, well, Pearson, it never mattered anyway. I get it. But check this out.
Jerome Powell says he will not resign if President-elect Trump tries to force him out. He spoke after the Fed's latest policy announcement, which is the focus of today's Money Watch. The Fed cuts interest rates again by 1/4 of a percentage point. Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady has more from the Fed chairman.
The labor market has cooled from its formerly overheated state and remains solid. Inflation has eased substantially from
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is seeing the signs of a strong economy, but there's a disconnect for consumers.
Many average Americans are still not feeling the strength of the economy in their wallets. So what's your message to them on when they might expect relief?
You're right that we say the economy is performing well, and it is. But we also know that people are still feeling the effects of high prices. It takes some years of real wage gains for people to feel better. That's what we're trying to create, and I think we're well on the road to creating that. We completely respect what they're feeling.
And it's not happening. They keep Houdini in the economy, up, down with the percentage rates. And like I taught you guys a few weeks ago, came out of his mouth. To fix inflation, he's got to unemploy millions of people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everything has maxed out. WW3, the Middle East has maxed out. The economy, the world economy has maxed out. Listen. And what did he say on 11/7, 2 days after the election? Person asked him about Trump, allegedly saying you should resign. Listen.
And the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors.
Some of the president.
Let's go to it. Here we go.
Some of the president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
Do you believe that the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
Not what?
Not permitted under the law.
Some of the.
Did you hear that? A non-elected, non-governmental body. Understand what is happening here, people. We have no, this man, in his mind, we have no power and no control. And even if the President of the United States asked him to go, one word, no. Excuse me, Christians, what the hell is going on? The lifeblood of a nation, beyond its morals, is its money, is its finance, is its economy. And this guy got all this power, and he always wearing that purple tie, if y'all notice. Who is this guy? The larger question is, who's backing him? The billionaires and trillionaires, I bet they're the one running this thing. And I'm gonna give you the history. He said no, people. So what is his aim? And what has he been doing? Like the other Fed chairmen have done. If you notice, they just put him in different positions around the United States, around money. Janet Yellen, look at her. She goes from one financial institution to another. Allegedly, the goal is to kill the economy and bring it to a max point, a turning point. The Federal Reserve was created December 23rd, 1913. I got something to build. It's going to blow your mind when I get to it. December 23, 2024 is the anniversary of the Federal Reserve. Subtract that from the day that he said no to Donald Trump, which is America. I will not resign. The difference is 46 days. What is symbolic for 46? It's called destruction in gematria. It's called chaos. Bo Biden, George Orwell, JFK, and George Floyd all became unalive at 46. So when you take the Federal Reserve's date, anniversary, and him saying no, I'm not surprised 46 comes up. And here's his birthday, Mr. No. His birthday is February 4th of 1953. Look at this. February 4th of 2025, his next birthday, subtracted from our birthday, America, July 4th, 2024. We just had a birthday, America. The difference is what? The difference is 2/16. What is 2/16? August 4th is the 216th day of the year. And whose birthday is that? Barack Obama. Is that coincidence? Do you understand how deep this could be? Our country's birthday versus someone who has our life in his hands. Not even the president in his mind. What'd he say? I want you to hear it again. As he put his head down.
The president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
Do you believe that the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
Not permitted under the law. They put this thing in stone where we have no power. Oh, I want to say something. What's the point of voting then? It's deep, y'all. God told me, he said, I got something to show you, Pearson, but I ain't even done. Let me blow your mind right quick. (11/7 of 2024), Jerome Powell said, no, nobody's firing me. 1/20 of 2025 is inauguration day when Trump puts his head on that Bible to protect and defend both foreign and domestic. Both foreign and domestic. You don't think that guy is a threat to us? Well, we can't tell him what to do when we feel it's hurting our economy? What's the difference? The difference is 74 days. What is 74? That's July 4th. It's speaking, baby. It's speaking. But check this out. I watched Redacted. Came in handy. Ron Paul, who ran for president back in the day, they made him look like a clown. He's talking about the Federal Reserve back in the day. Well, they interviewed him twice in the last week and a half. Listen to what he says in relation to the Federal Reserve.
But it always ends. It ends badly because a lot of people will be cheated and they'll go bankrupt. But to do it gracefully, like getting more members of Congress to vote it in and gradually just shrink the Fed, no way, it's not going to happen. But why? You say, well, why'd you waste all that time, talking about it? Because it'll end. It's going to end itself. And the big question is, what are you going to replace it with? The Marxists like it because they want chaos. They want excessive spending. They want chaos in the streets. They want these wars to agitate us. And then they will come in with their Marxism that they really want to promote. So that is a very, very strong scheme that we have to overcome. And that effort has been going on for a long time.
Did you catch that? The Marxists want it. The Marxists want it. They want a bad economy. This is deep. Listen to it again.
It's because they want chaos. They want excessive spending. They want chaos.
He was on Redacted just before the election, and he said this.
But it always ends. It ends badly because a lot of people will be cheated and they'll go bankrupt. But to do it gracefully, like getting more...
That is to get rid of the Federal Reserve. That's what he wants to do. They've been talking about doing this for a long time.
Members of Congress to vote it in and gradually just shrink the Fed. No way, it's not going to happen. But why? You say, well, why'd you waste all that time, talking about it? Because it'll end. It's going to end itself. And the big question is, what are you going to replace it with? The Marxists like it because they want chaos. They want excessive spending. They want chaos in the streets. They want these wars to agitate us. And then they will come in with their Marxism that they really want to promote. So that
a bad economy fostered by WAR and excessive spending, at some point you reach your mark which I'm telling you where we're at. And then the Marxists with their philosophy, they come in with their stuff. And they want the chaos, the social chaos. What will be the linchpin to bring in all the chaos? The unaliving of Donald J. Trump. It's all connected. We've maxed out. Now check this out. Listen to this for the reserve.
The Federal Reserve. Most people think it's just America's central bank, but it's far more powerful than we realize. Unlike other government agencies, it's not fully accountable to Congress or the public. The Federal Reserve makes decisions that can alter the economy, control interest rates, and even impact global markets, all behind closed doors. Some believe it's controlled by an elite group, wealthy families who can manipulate the economy to keep people in cycles of debt while preserving their own wealth. And here's the strange part. The Federal Reserve isn't even federal. It's a private entity with minimal ties to the government, raising serious questions about who truly benefits from its actions. Even presidents like JFK are rumored to have questioned its influence. But efforts to curb its power seem to go nowhere. So much of what it does is shrouded in secrecy. Transcripts are often hidden or delayed. Is the Federal Reserve just a bank or something far more shadowy, pulling the strings behind the scenes?
It's deep.
The Federal Reserve is not federal.
It's not even a government entity. Listen to this. How our money has devaluated over time.
Back to 1913, when we started the Federal Reserve, I mean, the dollar's lost about 99% of its value since then, measured in gold. Because back in 1913, you only needed $20 to buy an ounce of gold, right? So if you had $20, you had an ounce of gold. Now you need over $1,800 to buy that same ounce of gold. So that's a huge decline in the purchasing power of the dollar over that 100-year time period. But in contrast, if you go back to the 100 years, right, before the Federal Reserve, the dollar didn't lose any of its value. I mean, it was $20 bought you an ounce of gold in 1813, and it bought you an ounce of gold in 1913. And in fact, if you look at the consumer price index during those 100 years, it actually went down. So you could buy more with your dollar. Now, try to compare prices today to what prices were in 1913. I mean, stuff that cost a penny back then is, probably a couple of bucks. But prices have just skyrocketed over this 100 years. But 100 years of sound money, prices went down. The dollar maintained its value when the government couldn't create it out of thin air.
Isn't that something? Let's move forward.
American history, the national debt was completely paid off, was in 1835 after President Andrew Jackson.
1835, that's when our debt was completely paid off. Andrew Jackson, 1835. Now what happened? He shut down the central bank. They had a central bank back in the day, before 1913 in the Federal Reserve. Now listen what happened. He shut it down, which is what President Trump, I believe, wants to do. And other people have been wanting to do. Listen.
Shut down the central bank that preceded the Federal Reserve. In fact, Jackson's entire political platform essentially revolved around his commitment to shut down the central bank, stating at one point, "The bold efforts the present bank has made to control the government are but premonitions of the fate that awaits the American people, should they be deluded into a perpetuation of this institution or the establishment of another like it." Unfortunately, his message was short-lived, and the international bankers succeeded to install another central bank in 1913, the Federal Reserve.
So he warned us after he got it dissolved, and it came right back. They fought to get it back. Why? Because America wasn't made for you. And everybody who got in the way either went through some hardship, some drama, or they died. Check it out. On March 26, 2020, American banks are not required to hold any reserves, meaning they no longer need to keep a significant amount of money on reserve, as the Federal Reserve reduced reserve requirements ratios to 0% for all depository institutions. You wonder why you go to your bank and you ask for $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000. They tell you got to make an appointment and get it 2-3 days later. The Federal Reserve did that. Who are these people? They're setting us up so if something go wrong, we can't even get enough money to get back. March 26, 2020, American banks are no longer required to hold any reserves. If you've experienced this, put in the comment section. Listen, I'm about to wind up. This part will blow your mind. Listen to this.
Have you heard the theory of the Titanic and the Federal Reserve? Well, here it goes. So on the Titanic, there's some extremely wealthy passengers like J.P. Morgan, John Rockefeller, and the Rothschilds. But then you have Jacob Astor, the wealthiest man in the world at the time. He owned about 40% of all mortgages, and he was a Freemason who was very opposed to the idea of a central bank. Whereas J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, and Rothschild strongly supported the idea of a central bank. So Jacob Astor was the only one standing in the way of a central bank at the time. Coincidentally, the morning the Titanic was supposed to set sail, J.P. Morgan, some Rothschilds, and others quietly exited the ship without any explanation. 5 days later, Titanic slams into an iceberg and it starts to sink. And even though Jacob Astor is the wealthiest man in the world, he still can't find a seat in a lifeboat, and he ends up sinking with the ship. Shortly after, these guys become the wealthiest men in the world, and without Jacob Astor standing in their way, the next year in 1913, on Jekyll Island in Georgia, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law, paving the way to print money out of thin air and completely control our monetary system.
Now, what I see and what the Lord has shown me, they are going to create another scenario. Not only is Trump Captain America, but he is also a Astor. He is John Jacob Astor. It's deep. So God is showing me, and I want to show you, that Trump wants to be in the way of the Federal Reserve, just like John Astor. Do you understand? And you're going to see why I'm saying this. July 13th of 2024, you know what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. July 13th, 2024. John Astor, July 13th, 1864. July 13th, 2024. This man is in the way of the Federal Reserve. July 13th. July 13th, 1864 is the birthday of John J. Astor, who died on the Titanic, mysteriously, who was the wealthiest man. Trump is wealthy. They both got that in common. And he was standing in the way of the Federal Reserve. And what did the person ask him this past week? Asked the Federal Reserve Chairman, will you resign if Trump asked you? No. It's a stalemate, baby. What are the odds? July 13th, just like Trump, July 13th. What are the odds? I said, Lord, you showing me something real deep. But look, here's his death date, 4/15/1912. 4/15/2024 versus Trump's birthday, 6/14/2024. The difference is 8 weeks and 4 days. Barack Obama, or the beast system. This is the beast system, August 4th. What are the odds? And let's look at the debt to finish it off. Right now, we are at $35.95 trillion in debt. Almost $36 trillion in debt. November 2024. I've run this number before, a little bit different. George Bush, $4 trillion. Barack Obama, $7.6 trillion. Donald Trump, $6.7 trillion. Although I know it was the moment where we had to stay 6 feet, but the powers caused us problems, what I'm saying. So they made him spend money. and Joe Biden, 4.7 trillion. That's close to 24 trillion. 4 presidents since January 20th of 2000, we have been in debt over $1 trillion per year. Right now, we're almost $36 trillion in debt, and 24 trillion, or 66% of the 36 trillion, is the last 4 presidents. I'm Friendshot Pearson. I hope you understand. Please subscribe, thumbs up, and don't forget, I have another channel. You'll go to Friendshot's Gift. Please subscribe. I will put it in the description. Friendshot's Gift, right here. This is my site, Friendshot's Gift. Thank you. God bless.